Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento. I've got to call myself out at the top of today's episode because I love launching businesses, but my least favorite part of launching a business is creating a website. And that's why I'm so excited about today's guest and fellow entrepreneur, because this is somebody who is eliminating that pain point in a really cool way. He has such an incredible approach, and I love how much him and his team are taking their absolute tech brilliance and applying it in ways that actually move businesses forward. So let me introduce you to today's guest and fellow entrepreneur. His name is Yason Khaburzaniya. I tried my best there. Yason Khaburzaniya. Yason is a seasoned software engineer and a novice entrepreneur based in the Pacific Northwest in Redmond, Washington. In August 2024, he founded Breba Apps with the mission of empowering billions of people to build solutions with agentic AI. And I so love the work that they're doing because they're building an agent native platform for people to create simple websites for early startups, solopreneurs, and small businesses. They're trying to make simple websites so easy to build that you can build them without any technical expertise at all. Eventually, the ability to spin up a website in a couple of minutes is going to transform the way that people interact through the internet. And I'm so excited for all of us to hear about the method behind the madness, their approach to it, why websites, how close are we to that technology, eliminating this pain point. We're all going to learn a lot today, so I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Yason Khaburzaniya. All right, Yason, привет. I'm so excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
It is so great to have you here. I'm excited to geek out about all the cool stuff that you and your team are up to. But first things first, I'm going to put you on the spotlight. Take us beyond the bio. Who's Yason? How did you start doing all these cool things?
Yeah, so I guess people close to me, they say that I'm entrepreneurial. And I do have a bias towards action. In high school, I did pet sitting and lawn mowing. Sometimes making $20 a week was making me happy. And, then I learned how to make websites. That was five lifetimes ago. And I started helping my neighbors and local small businesses with their IT problems. And I ran that business through college and learned some of my first lessons in entrepreneurship about persistence and, just having patience. I created 150 flyers. I dropped them at 150 doorsteps, and I was expecting my phone to flood with phone calls, but I only got one call that week. And I was disappointed originally. And then the calls kept coming from these flyers over the years. One call I received that was after I've already shut down the business. I thought I shut down the website as well. And I get this call and the person is asking me to fix something. And I say like, okay, let's do it. And as I'm driving, I'm just curious, how did they find me? So I show up, I fix their things. And I asked them, how did you find me? And they show me a notebook and they're like, oh, I got this flyer. I wrote down your website here. And, I look at the notebook. There's about 6 or 7 other businesses above mine. And they're all crossed out. And I'm like, okay, I guess my website is still up. So I go check the website and it literally has We Fix Computers and a phone number and nothing else on it. So I realized that at that moment that this person really needed my help that day. And that kind of made it, I was really inspired to keep trying to help people. And after college, I got a job as a software developer and I was looking to impact more and more people. And I wrote about 30,000 lines of code for the 3rd generation GPS satellites. So that code is probably still running today, which I feel kind of proud about. And then I tried a couple more startups that with my friends that kind of failed because we didn't know how to sell the things we were building. And then I got a job at Intuit, where I worked for 8 years as a full stack developer. And for a period of time, I worked on what's called the Tiger Team, where it's basically a startup within the company where we're trying new technologies, new things. And one of the cooler projects we tried, and it was back in 2018, I think, 2019-ish, where we were working with early LLMs trying to create a chatbot to answer people's questions. And, that didn't pan out in the end, even though it had a promising start. In the end, it failed because the LLMs weren't ready at the time. But that's how I get to Breba. Breba is actually a fruit of a fig that gets started in fall and then comes to fruition in spring. And so that's how I kind of see the evolution of myself and my entrepreneurial journey is things that were not possible before. We're in spring of the LLM revolution. They're now possible. We can do that. We can actually accomplish them. And with Breba, we're trying to empower billions of people to also accomplish what they want to accomplish.
Yes, I so love and appreciate that overview, Yasan, especially because I resonate so much with that very young entrepreneurial start before you and I probably even realized what that had to do with entrepreneurship is we just loved building things and we loved putting things into the world. And I started my first business all the way back in 2008, which was a soccer blog. And back then, it was not easy to start a blog. There were some free tools out there, but I had to learn PHP, I had to learn CSS, I had to learn HTML, of course, I had to learn some SQL, just enough to be dangerous with it. And so, Yasan, I very much relate to the fact that it should be so much easier today. And of course, there are so many different tools out there. And I want to start there with a landscape of what it looks like to make a website in 2026 and beyond. Or maybe, I guess we'll talk kind of 2024, because I feel like the website industry is still lagging a little bit. You obviously are pushing the envelope in really cool ways, but most business owners turn to some really bad solutions. I'm going to call out Wix as a not great solution. GoDaddy has a website builder that is a not great solution. Yasan, why are we still getting websites wrong here at the beginning of 2026? What is it about these tools that they just never seemed to evolve with the rest of the internet?
Yeah, I think you called it out right. And these no-code solutions that I think is the label for them, they were trying to, and they're actually doing a pretty good job with the tools that they have. They're trying to help people who are not technical to build websites, but then you end up having to learn their specific platform, and then the instructions are confusing to somebody who's not technical. You have to figure out the very confusing, very busy UIs to make things happen. So I have experience using some of these platforms you called out, and that's actually kind of my inspiration when I first tried the LLM-based website builder and saw the results. I was like, wow, this has a lot of potential. And we immediately pivoted to that when we saw what was possible. But one of the reasons, or there's many reasons why, but one of them is that the internet started as something very simple. That, when I made my first web page 26 years, but who's counting, years ago, it took me a week from learning that there is a thing called HTML to me producing a web page, because there was one way to do it. You get a book, you build your website. It wasn't great, but I was able to put something out on the internet in 1 week. Today, it's going to take you a week just to learn about all the different possibilities, all the different tools. You also have to take into account mobile. You have to take into account search engine optimization. Now with the AI engines, you got AEO, where it's the answer engine optimization, and AIO, which is the artificial intelligence optimization. I think it's where you get your website to be more easily understood by these chatbots. You've got social media, where you have to share your website and produce content. So there's so much more, and it's so confusing that it's actually probably more complicated today to build a website than it was 25 years ago. And so when I saw what was possible with the LLMs, I just kind of jumped on that idea, and we pivoted to that and have been pushing that ever since.
Yeah, I like the way that you expose, you're right, that it's even more complicated now in a world where we have even more tools at our fingertips. And you called out that when we first started, I remember my first book, it was WordPress for Dummies. I thought all those for Dummies books were so good because, there weren't that many things for us to reference back then. Whereas today, you and I have both listed just a few of the options that we all have, and they all brag about those what you see is what you get editors. And I have been a user of those so many times, and I think to myself, well, yeah, but what I see is not what I want. I wish I could just tell it what I want. So paint the picture for us of what the Breba approach looks like. And of course, you're talking about LLMs and agentic AI. There's so many more possibilities in 2026 and beyond. So in your view, what is this new way of us making websites?
So in Breba, we're trying to make it as simple as possible so that you don't have to learn a new platform, a new tool set. And that's what a lot of our customers are actually worried about. They're like, oh, I already know Wix. I'll need to learn a new platform. But no, you don't need to learn a new platform. We've got maybe 3 features total. You just explain things. You take your business plan to Breba or business description, whatever you have. The more details is actually, the more details you provide, the better result you're going to get. But you just give it your details and it builds your initial preview for you. Also, using some of my expertise from previous LLM interactions, I've made it be able to ask questions in a way that helps it to hone down on kind of the key details of your description. And so it will not just build something out of the blue, it will make sure it's clear about some of the intents before it starts building. And then you just make corrections by talking to the chat, or you can just highlight stuff and say, I don't like this, make this better, right? And then it tries to fix it. A lot of times it is very successful from the first try, but if it's not successful from the first try, you give it another description, some additional text, and usually it's very successful at getting some pretty decent websites out.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot here because I feel like everybody has different definitions of a decent website. And I know people who are visual perfectionists, and for them, decent means it looks beautiful. Then we have kind of the more business academic types that for them, it's every page has to have the perfect text. It has to have the perfect psychological flow for a buyer to generate leads. And then you've got some people that obsess about the sitemap of I need a homepage, I need an about page, I need all these different things. Yasan, obviously, you all have been thinking about all the different components of what it means to make a decent and successful website. What are those components and those ingredients that you've baked into the way that Breba approaches what a decent website looks like?
So we start with the design. A decent website has to have a decent design. Again, I think if you're very nitpicky, it's very hard to get anything perfect. But with the AI, you don't have to know all the details of how to make it perfect. You just tell it, I want this to be different. I want this better. So you don't need to, open a toolbox and start trying to figure out which tool to use here to make it right. And for example, one of our customers, they wanted to put basically a wall of text on the page. And I said, no, we cannot do this. You're one of our first customers. I cannot have a wall of text web page as one of my first customers. So we came up with a design where a modal pop-up shows up and shows the leasing terms and agreement terms in that pop-up. And it took us about 2 minutes to do it. And the website design stayed very clean and perfect, but we were able to get that out and not ruin the website. But a lot of it depends on who is the user. Some of the users I've had who are very visual design oriented, they're able to write a description that is so well understood by the AI that they just do things way better than me. So I've given it to some people who are pretty good at visual and website design, and they've shown me new ways of how to use my own product that blew my mind. So that's one of the benefits of the AI is all the things are possible. You're not limited to the features I'm providing you. If you can find tools and find better language to explain, you can get even better results. But if you want a website that's just text, a wall of text, it will allow you to do it. And, you may think it's decent. So it's in the eye of the beholder. I think you pointed out that correctly. But the skills, the communication skills matter.
Yeah, I love that perspective, and I really appreciate those insights because you're right. I hadn't previously thought of it that way, in the sense that historically, if you and I wanted to make a website, well, let's not include you because you're obviously a software engineer. For a normal person, if I wanted to create a website using, let's just say WordPress for an example, there are thousands of WordPress templates out there that can get me 80% of the way there. And then obviously I can modify it as I please, but then I'm going to look like every other website that has used that template. Then I'm going to be limited to what features they have baked into that template. If I need a specific opt-in row, for example, or section, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm not a designer and I'm not a coder. And so I'm going to be limited there. Whereas the way you're talking about it, there are no limits to the possibilities when we're using AI to come up with this, which leads me to the natural question that I'm sure you've given a lot of thought to, is that the only limitation there is really how good or bad are we at prompting the tool. What's your approach to prompting? Because obviously we all want the best outputs as far as our websites go. For users who are thinking, how much do I need to prompt? Is there a right prompt structure? How are you baking the correct prompting style into Breba?
So on the inside, like if we're going to get a little bit technical, we do have some pretty advanced prompt and context engineering techniques where, we what you type into the Breba agent is not necessarily what the Breba agent sees. There are things on the background that change your prompt and make it better. Sometimes they wrap it in kind of a fake conversation so that the AI agent has a better understanding of your, of what you're actually trying to do in that moment. And we're using these techniques in combination with a UI that's also augmented, or, it's not just a chat. We have some buttons that just, when you click it, it's actually sending a conversation to the chat agent that provides it with some best practices prompts. And so even if your prompting isn't great, Breba will make it better. And then if you provide a better prompt, you get better results. I don't know if I'm answering your question fully, but
yeah, for sure. But Yasan, apologies already because I love your tech. So that answer gives me more follow-up questions, because already I'm thinking about all the painful points that I've gone through in building and launching so many different websites for all my different businesses. And my mind goes straight to, well, I like when websites do things for my business. And the most important thing in most of my businesses is lead capture. And I think about how on the back end, either I use Zapier or I have some sort of back end. The website is built on top of my CRM. There's all sorts of different situations that we all have when it comes to lead capture. How's Breba? And in your mind, I guess it's fun to hear you talk both short term, but also that longer term vision. What's your take on the importance of building front ends, back ends, integrations? How the heck does all of this stuff shake out where we are today?
All right. So hopefully I don't say anything too groundbreaking here, but with Breba, we're trying to focus on kind of building the front end. And the reason is because once you introduce the back end, it gets very technical. There's so many nuances that, even for me, I step into some traps periodically, right? And what we're trying to do is provide you with ability to plug in existing backends. That takes care of security concerns, that takes care of proper APIs, and everything on the backend. Scalability that has to be taken care of can be provided by third parties. So, for example, in some of the examples and with some of my customers, we're doing lead capture using Static Forms XYZ, which is a third-party provider that when you create a form, when Breba creates a form, it sends the data to Static Forms XYZ that then emails that data to the email that you want, right? So you get that lead capture using a third party, but you didn't have to actually do anything on the back end. And Breba can guide you through how to properly set up, which is like a two-step process, set up an account with Static Forms XYZ and get it integrated into your front end. And it's actually, this approach is kind of a widespread approach in blogging infrastructure and Wikimedia Foundation, where they promote a static website There's actually a term Jamstack architecture for it, where a static website is then hooking into different backends depending on your requirements. So we're leveraging that architecture in order to alleviate a lot of pain points where I personally, when I tried some of the application builders, AI application builders, I didn't get good enough results at the start. And I started realizing that I really need to be very technical in order to get something that works, that is, that is not going to crash or is not going to have security flaws. And that's why we've decided that we're going to focus on the front end that can leverage other backends that are third-party provided. So
I love that. Yeah, and it's really cool to hear the way that you're thinking about this, because you are, like I said, pushing the envelope with regards to how easy it should be for us as end users. And I'm so appreciative of the thought and the intention that has gone into all of this. And I'm going to use myself as an example here, Yasan. Maybe not in the best way, is that I am very guilty of something that I think a lot of us end users are doing these days, which is we're always waiting for that next cool thing to be released within the world of AI. And we see that with ChatGPT. It seems like every month they're coming out with a new model that can do new things. Gemini is pushing the envelope in some really cool ways with Nano Banana 3 and all the things that it can do with image generation. It seems like every month we are treated to different cool things that are coming out. And so I guess it's a twofold question that I have for you is, one, as the founder of a tech company within the AI world, how the heck are you making sense of all of these rapidly changing developments? And then second, you then have to filter through a lot of that noise to decide what makes it into your products, what makes it into your customers' hands. How are you making sense of this landscape that's changing every single day?
Yeah, I think our strategy is simplicity. So that lets me ignore most of the noise. I don't have to try every tool because it's impossible, but also I leverage my social networks to see what's really important. And the people that I follow who are tech influencers, they're bubbling up the things that are relevant to me. So I've leveraged that a lot. But in general, I try to kind of be in different modes. I'm building mode. I'm marketing mode, I'm exploring mode. So when I'm in exploration, in the mode of exploration, I'm looking around, seeing how other people are doing things. And even though things are moving really quickly, at the same time, some of the things are moving so slowly that when I lift my head up, look around, what's happening, and people are building cool features, but it's not as fast as as I'm expecting it. And maybe my expectations are a little bit too high because, with Breba, the simplicity of our approach lets us do things really well and really quickly. And I think I kind of, get spoiled with that.
Yeah, I'm going to bring in that Albert Einstein quote that I turn to so frequently here. And it's something that really caught our eye when we reached out to invite you to come on the show. And Albert Einstein once said, if you want to impress somebody, make it complicated. If you want to help somebody, make it simple. And I feel like it's so deeply embedded in the way that you view the work that you're doing and the way that your team operates. And obviously it trickles right into the products that you're delivering into the marketplace. And you talk about speed there. And I want to go there with you, knowing fully well that you are an expert in this space. You've seen software and engineering at all different levels, front ends, back ends. You've seen it in all different ways. That said, I do feel like publicly we do have different perceptions of the speed of innovation. Once upon a time, everyone was talking about flying cars. Obviously, we're not quite there yet, but even if we just focus on large language models, right now, you and I are filming this in the beginning of January. It's going viral on social media right now. People are asking ChatGPT, how many A's are there in the word orange? And it can't even get that question right, Yasan. Where are we in the macro world of LLMs here at the beginning of 2026? Where do you think we are today? Where do you think we're going within the next 12 months? I know a lot of it is speculation, but it'll be really cool to hear your insights.
So I think two things are true at the same time that are kind of contradictory. AI in the current state allows you to do more things than most people expect, but also it's got limitations that are very persistent, and we don't even have theory of how to overcome some of these limitations. So I think a lot of folks who are saying it's hype, they're looking into these limitations and saying, oh, you can't overcome them. But one of my approaches is, I'm not trying to solve simple problems. And instead of looking up into space, I look down and I see that there's a large number of problems that are not even being tackled right now, because all the smart people are looking up. They're trying to solve the big problems and move us along to AGI, right? But the theory behind AGI right now is kind of very confusing and probably not attainable in the short term, on one hand. On the other hand, if you make these specialized agents that solve very directed, specific tasks, they can, supersede humans in their competence. So there's this duality. You probably cannot match a human in every case, but if you narrow it down, and that's kind of one of the big rules of entrepreneurship is, you want to focus, you want to be narrow in your focus, and then you can be really successful with realizing the full potential of the current LLMs and other AI algorithms.
Yeah, really well said. Yasan, I knew that time would fly by with you today, but I want to squeeze two more questions in, because one of them I'm super curious about, because I want to give you a very public praise in the fact that you've openly acknowledged that you're not just a software engineer. You don't just get to build an incredible product anymore. As the founder of an incredible company, you also are a marketer. You also are a salesman. You also have so many different responsibilities, of course, in addition to your day-to-day life. And so what I really want to hear behind the scenes about you as the founder is, what are some of those ways that you're balancing all of the things and deciding where to spend your time? And then, of course, I've got a sneak part of this question is, how are you personally using AI to make your life easier in all of those ways as a founder?
So I guess, I don't know if I have a formula for success here. I just kind of stumble this way, stumble that way, but I try to kind of have a method to the madness, right? I try to decide what is my priority today, what is my priority this week, and kind of go, by feel. If I've succeeded in some priorities, I move along to other priorities. And I've made a lot of mistakes with not using social marketing early enough, and focusing on building too much too soon, right? But I've also made some good decisions by taking a look around and saying, hey, it's time to pivot. I'm pushing up against the wall. The marketing for this isn't working. So at first I had a big solution. I thought I invented something that was huge. It was going to transform the internet. But I quickly learned that there weren't people in my network who saw me as a revolutionary. I couldn't sell it to anybody. And so I narrowed it down until I got a problem that looks like a middle schooler could solve it. And my friends are like, why are you solving this? This is so simple, And I'm like, well, because this is the thing that I can really excel at. And I don't know if anybody's really excelling at it right now. So that was your first part of the question. What was the second part of the question?
How are you personally using AI to help you as a founder in balancing all these things?
Right. So I'm using AI like ChatGPT. I have Claude. I have Grok. I've tried other different tools that help me organize things, that help me remember things. So when I'm filling things out, I usually fill things out, give it to the chat, and say, "Hey, this is my, this is my business plan, or this is my potential customer," and then when I come back, I'll be like, hey, where are these potential customers? Maybe this is time to reach out to them again and see if I've got something new to offer them. And so I do use them as my organizers, as language experts. Sometimes I don't know how to say the right phrase, but yes, for coding, I do vibe coding. I'm an expert developer, but without vibe coding, it's just too slow. So I kind of change hats. I'm, try to develop some stuff myself just so that I don't forget how to code. But then when I need, something that's a solved problem and AI is good at, I'll ask 2, 3 different AIs to solve it and see which one is the best one, and then take it and run with it. So
yes. I love hearing that, Yasan. That's the real stuff. And I'm so appreciative of hearing that, because in a world where people think that vibe coding is going to be the end of developers and software engineers, the truth is you can vibe code way better than most of us can vibe code, because you understand what it's doing. You can make those tweaks. You can speak its language. So really appreciative of all those transparent insights. And I will say, in the chorus of people saying, Yasan, why are you solving this problem? I love that you called out that so many brilliant minds are focusing on colonizing Mars, but what you're doing is going to impact our day-to-day lives and our businesses, which trickles straight into society and everything that we do to serve other people, so much more than potentially colonizing Mars in, a couple hundred years or not. So super grateful for you doing the type of work that you're doing. I'm only going to put you on the spot one more time here, and that is to ask you, what's your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their growth journeys, and also knowing that you are one of us, you're a fellow entrepreneur, what's the one thing that you want to leave them with today?
Yeah, I think number one thing is take action, but be also deliberate about taking action, because sometimes we try to, solve the problem for the entire world while we can solve simpler problems. So go small, but not small in terms of where you're going, but make things as simple as possible, but not simpler. I think that's attributed to Albert Einstein as well. And then I think you'll be able to leverage your network, your competence, and be successful at actually selling the thing that you're building, because building is a skill and selling is an art, to me at least. And so try to go maybe 1 or 2 competence levels below where you think you are, and then you can excel. So.
Yes, I love that advice. Oh, glad that we're both stealing from the obviously brilliant mind of Albert Einstein here, and the fact that you've put your own twist on that advice. And really what I think is the most valuable piece of that is that you're living evidence of what it looks like to be deliberate in the choices that we make, in the direction that we go, in finding those simple solutions. So Yasan, I personally am a big fan of the work that you're doing. And I know a lot of listeners are probably thinking, Brian, stop talking. We want to know how we can start using Breba. So Yasan, I'm kicking it right back to you. Drop some links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
So Breba right now is invite only, so you can get request access. And right now we're onboarding any startups and small businesses that fit our target audience, which is small businesses and early stage startups. So if you go to breba.app and fill out our lead capture form, we will reach out to you and set you up with a website. And one of the key things that our simplicity allows us to do is we can let you try our website for free, try to build stuff, and then if you like it, only then we'll ask you to pay for it. But it's all completely free to try, and you only there's no lock-in, so you don't have to pay monthly. We have a pay-as-you-go system that is only possible because of the simplicity of our solution and the simplicity of things that the Breba agent is building.
Yes, I love that. And I'm super appreciative of, again, the intention and the strategy that goes behind your decision, even with regards to your business model. It allows users to get in and really try this stuff out. So listeners, I know just how many of you meet that criteria that Yasan just outlined. Small business owners, solopreneurs are welcome there. So definitely hit the link down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. You'll be able to request an invite right there. So do not be shy in checking out that link. You can click right on through from the show notes. Otherwise, Yasan, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, spasiba, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
All right, thank you.